You know the vibes. We are back, the Hoop Genius podcast. Mo Rusi and BJ Armstrong back at you. We took a little break. BJ, how you been?
Come on, man. I don't know, Mo, how I've been. Yeah, I haven't been talking to you. You've been out and about. You moving and grooving, you maxing and
Man.
relaxing,
Oh
shaking and
man.
baking. So I just been sitting here watching games with nobody to talk to, Mo.
Oh
My
man. I
kids are busy.
apologize.
My wife won't talk to me. She said, "Why don't you go talk to Mo?" So I said, "Well, Mo's busy right now."
Man, listen,
So
listen. I'm gonna tell you guys the truth. I'm gonna tell you guys the truth. I miss talking to you. I miss giving this podcast to the listeners. The truth is, I haven't taken any time off ever since the last time I took any time off was 2014. So I actually took 4 days off, 5 days off, or whatever it was. A lot of my friends, a lot of my close friends, associates, advisors have been telling me, Mo, you got to take some time, you're going hard right now, but if you take a little break, you'll be able to go even harder when you come back. So we're back now. We're going even harder. We had a bunch of people apply to work with us as we were expanding the team. So that's excited.
right.
The show's going to get better. The show's going to get bigger. But while I was away, BJ, lots of things happened in the NBA. Now,
Yes.
I was trying to take a break from the screens, my eyesight, give my brain a little rest, but I couldn't stay away. If the Celtics and the Lakers are playing, I got to check in. But, so I was just watching the games. I'm catching up on them the next day. So I didn't watch it live, but I woke up and the whole Twitter timeline is blown up. And I see this video of LeBron James crouched over on the floor as if a devastating act has occurred at the TD Garden. And I'm thinking, oh God, has someone got seriously injured? Has there been an incident with the fans? What's happened? Why is everyone so upset? And it turns out that the Lakers simply had to play overtime. And that caused such an outburst, such an atrocity for the Lakers. Now, don't get me wrong. I watched it back. And the final possession, if you guys haven't seen, the game is tied at 105-105. And LeBron James goes in for a layup. And Jason Tatum does clearly foul LeBron. It's LeBron's about to score a layup. Let me foul him to make him earn it at the free throw line, and we'll see what happens. The referee, however, doesn't see this, or they say they don't see this, and the game goes to overtime. As that happens, LeBron is screaming, jumping up and down, screaming at the ref, saying, I got fouled. Patrick Beverley got the funniest technical foul I've ever seen in my life. When we're talking about funny technical fouls, here's my funniest ones. Tim Duncan getting ejected for laughing on the bench by Jae Crowder. Rasheed Wallace getting a technical foul for staring at the referee. And Patrick Beverley going into the crowd, picking up a DSLR camera from a photographer to show the referee evidence of LeBron being fouled. And he got teed up. That was hilarious. But the Lakers fan base got me really mad. The Lakers fan base got me really mad because I came onto the timeline and the Lakers, the Los Angeles Laker fans, are acting as if there is a conspiracy against them in the NBA. The Lakers, arguably the most popular franchise in the NBA, led by the most popular player of a generation, maybe the most popular player we've seen since Kobe Bryant or even Michael Jordan, and they think there's a conspiracy against them? Didn't sit right with me, BJ. Didn't sit right with me. What was your reaction watching that Celtics and Lakers ending?
Well, Mo, for our listeners and you, my dad, my father, is a referee.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really biased towards the referees.
Okay.
They're going to make mistakes. I would see when my dad, who took refereeing very serious, right? He refereed high school and he refereed high level, the top players in high school who went on to play pros, Derek Coleman, Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, all those guys.
Legendary
in the Detroit area. Yeah, in the Detroit area, all those guys, who played professional basketball. He refereed all those guys. And when he would miss a call, he was so disturbed,
Yeah.
He would get so upset. And he would be very upset. And as a matter of fact, I just got done talking to him about that missed call. He was like, you know what? I had to learn as a young official that we're going to make mistakes too. He was like, the referees, we get 99 out of 100 right, but that one call everyone's going to talk about. He was like, that's what makes this a beautiful game. Players make mistakes, coaches make mistakes. Well, it's only, the referees are human. They're going to make a mistake. Okay, let's say they got every other call right except that call. That's pretty good.
There were pretty good ones, but I hear it.
Yeah, that's part of the game. So, you win some, you lose some, and you move on. That's how I am. I learned this very early on in my professional career. You got a choice to make. Either you're going to be the most aggressive player on the floor, or you're going to be the victim on the floor. But you can't be both. So I made a decision after the first day of practice that if I'm the most aggressive player on the floor, that I will get my fair share of calls. And when I did get the call, because I was the most aggressive, I was going to get the benefit of the call, whether it was for me or against me. And that's how I looked at it. So that's how it is. Refs are going to make mistakes. Sometimes you get the call, sometimes you don't. Yeah. But it all shakes out. So that's where I looked at it.
Every team has bad calls against them. But the thing with this that got me so annoyed is they didn't miss the call and you've now lost the game. They've missed the call, but now you have overtime. You can still win the game. There's 5 more minutes of basketball to play. You can go out there and you can win the game. You can't blame that loss on the referee because there was still overtime. If that was the basket that made you lose the game, then I get it. But the Lakers fans, I know there have been some really bad calls against them. The Russell Westbrook play where Joel Embiid was holding his arm, that was a bad call as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, can I say this? Here's one thing that I have come to understand about refereeing. You always, if given a choice, you want to allow the players to determine the outcome of the game. If it comes to losing or winning a game with a non-whistle, then I'm like, whoa. But from the standpoint, Mo, like, okay, let the players determine it. It could have easily been a foul. It was a foul.
It was a foul. I'm a Celtics fan, but it was a foul.
It was a foul. However, hey, you let the players determine it. You know what I mean? You let the player. It's kind of one of those unwritten rules. Now, if you're on defense, I don't like it. One thing I don't like is when referees call fouls at the end of the game, touch fouls at the end of the game. Why? Because the game, it's like, let me determine what's going to happen here. A foul is a foul. However, but truthfully speaking, you can call a foul on every play in an NBA game. If you're going to be, we're going to just talk about, if you want to just say a foul. So the players were determined. They had overtime, and that night, the Boston Celtics won.
They did indeed. And like I was saying, though, the Lakers have been on the wrong end of some bad calls. The one that springs to mind is in Philly, where Embiid held onto Russell Westbrook's arm when Russ was trying to get the shot off at the end. And there was a game against the Kings, I believe, and there was another example as well. However, if you go through the last 2-minute reports of the NBA game. So when there is a close game in the NBA, if you guys don't know, the referees produce a last 2-minute report where they go through every single possession, every single call that was made, and they review it. And the referees actually put out an apology saying they made the mistake on this call against the Lakers, against the Celtics. Right. And they said that they're going to have sleepless nights, etc. I've never seen them apologize like that for any other team, but they did put out an apology. But Ben Roback, okay, someone has actually gone and reviewed the last 2-minute reports of all the games so far this season. And for the Los Angeles Lakers, there have been 34 incorrect calls or non-calls in the final 2 minutes of their 19 close games this season. BJ, in those 19 close games, out of the 34 incorrect or missed calls, how many went in favor of the Lakers, do you think?
I have no idea, but please.
I'll tell you. 19 of them, not 19, 21 of them have gone in favor of the Lakers. So 21 of the 34 incorrect or missed calls have gone in favor of the Lakers. So for all of the fans out there, all the Laker fans who are complaining, saying the referees are out to get us, they don't want us to win, the Lakers have had the decisions go in their favor over 60% of the time. The majority of the time. 21 of the 34 calls. In the NBA, the most favorable calls in the final 2 minutes of these close games, the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Warriors get the most favorable whistle, according to the facts of the last 2-minute reports from the referees.
That's my whole idea.
The team that gets the least favorable whistle, okay, in their 22 last-minute reports of 36 calls that have been incorrect or missed calls, only 13 have got in favor of the Sacramento Kings. And it's ironic because the Lakers want to complain about referees in a regular season game. We can talk about the referees in those 2002 playoffs if we want to talk about that and the Sacramento Kings. But that's a whole nother conversation. So Lakers fans, the reason why you think the referees are out to get you, it baffles me. It really does baffle me because if the Lakers miss the playoffs or miss the play-in, they're all going to come back and say, oh, well, Jason Tatum fouled LeBron, and that's why we missed it. No, you have missed the playoffs, if you missed them, because you have a poorly constructed roster. However, to their credit, BJ.
That's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
I'm just tired of excuses, especially from the most favored team in the league.
Well, I don't normally read my timeline stuff. Well, there was something that was really funny to me. There was something that was really funny.
Okay.
Someone texted you and I and said, "Is this a blended brand of basketball?"
Oh, they're talking about Luka the other night.
God, and that made me laugh so hard. I wanted to shout that out. That
Shout
was
to Harry.
really.
I think it was Harry Bridge who said that. It's when Luka dropped 53 and his teammates barely touched the ball. And
no.
We're not going to talk about the Mavericks right now. I want to stay on the Lakers.
Luka,
No, we don't talk about the Mavericks. We'll talk about Luka tomorrow or another day because that's a whole nother wormhole. And if you're a regular listener of the show, you know BJ's thoughts on Luka and the Mavericks and the blended brand of basketball they need to be playing. But I want to stay with the Lakers. Because I do want to stay with the Lakers, because I said a few weeks ago that I believe they're going to make it to the playoffs. And they actually made a move. They made a trade, which I think was a fantastic trade. They traded for Rui Hachimura. So Rui Hachimura was a lottery pick, came into the Washington Wizards, and things didn't go too well for him in Washington. It was kind of hard for him to find a role. And the Wizards, they want to find more minutes for Denny Avdia, and they want to try and pay Kyle Kuzma, even though they really should be trading Kyle Kuzma. Before the trade deadline, since he's kind of made it adamant he doesn't want to stay there. But they did make a trade and they went and got Rui Hachimura from the Washington Wizards in exchange for Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks. I think this is a fantastic trade because Kendrick Nunn wasn't really adding much to their team. Rui Hachimura now gives you a really big, when you get healthy, you have LeBron, AD, and Rui. That's a big-bodied front line. That's some physical, solid players that can hold it down on the defensive end. Rui can do some things on the offensive side of the ball. He's not the most polished player, but he can create with the ball in his hands. He can provide a little bit of offense when the offense slows down and LeBron's getting a rest out of the game, things like that. What are your thoughts on this trade for the Los Angeles Lakers? Because I believe he's played pretty well. He's averaging double-digit points. I think it's 11.3 points and 4.7 rebounds in the 3 first games he played. I think he started one of the first 3 games he played with the Lakers. What are your thoughts on this move for Los Angeles?
Well, I think it's to be determined what this trade is going to be and how it's going to pan out. And reason being is I'm not really sure what to think about this trade because of the following. We have Anthony Davis, who's been out. LeBron is playing a lot of minutes, and he seems to have settled in as a power forward / small ball 5. Rui, from what I can tell, from what I can see, just based on what I saw in Washington, he looks to be like a more of a 3-4 type of player. Okay. This league is about, there's a premium on a certain player, wing players who can defend, 2s and 3s and those type of athletes. Okay. And I'm waiting to see if that is Rui. What is he going to settle into a guy who can defend those 2s, 3s, and those type of players? Okay. Now
his on-ball defense has looked pretty solid. His off-ball defense needs to work, but I guess it's a case of settling in with a new team.
Well, yeah, you got to settle in. You got to figure out their scheme, so forth. Now, I just, and it's unfortunate, right? When I say unfortunate, you can't look at a team or look at a player when you play against the Boston Celtics. But those are when I see you, if I want to know if you can defend or not, I start looking at you versus the best teams. I start looking at you versus Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
The number one team in the NBA.
Okay, now. And I was looking at those matchups and so forth and so on. Now, do I think it's a significant upgrade? Absolutely. I think this is an upgrade for them. However, I don't know how this is going to settle because I don't know what you're going to do with Anthony Davis. I don't know. Is he just going to be a 5? LeBron James was playing probably the best basketball especially all year when he was playing the 5. Okay. He was, we got to tell it like we see it. I don't know if that's where he's going to settle in eventually, but he was playing small ball 5. So does that put Rui at the 4? Now, I don't know what this is going to mean. So, and the reason I'm saying this is because they've been playing these small guards, Schroeder, Patrick Beverly, and Russell Westbrook. Rui, LeBron, AD. By my count, that's 6 guys.
And they got Lonnie Walker coming back.
Lonnie Walker's coming back. What's the other kid?
Troy Brown Jr.
All these guys. They got all these guys that come back. So I'm going to wait and see how this shakes out. However, I do like Rui. I think he's a good NBA player. And I just want to see how this is all going to fit. I just don't know how it's going to fit. And the reason being is because they haven't been healthy. So but I'm not going to put too much stock in it because I'm not sure where LeBron is going to settle. Okay. I'm not sure if Anthony Davis is going to be, available for the rest of the season. I mean, they got like 50 games already, right? Yeah. And so we'll see how it happens, but I do like the talent upgrade.
I think
we'll see where he's going to play.
When it gets to the playoffs, they like to put AD at that 5, LeBron at the 4, and I'll have Rui at 3. But from a business perspective, this trade is already a win. The Lakers are one of the most popular teams in Japan, which is where Rui Hachimura is from. And so Rui Hachimura playing for the Lakers was in fact so popular that his first game, the streaming service which broadcasts NBA games in Japan, crashed because so many people were trying to watch Rui's first game as a Laker. So expanding your franchise into that market, absolutely huge. We know the NBA is making a big push into Japan. They had the Japan games recently where they had the Warriors, in fact, going over there and playing. So from a business perspective, that's a dub. They, in fact, had a 10-minute press conference where all of the questions were asked in Japanese and Rui answered them in Japanese, which is not very common in the NBA, given that there's so many international players. I didn't see them do a press conference for Giannis or a German press conference for Dennis Schroeder on the Lakers. But, from a business perspective, that's fantastic. Do you see more moves on the horizon for the Lakers? Do you think the question that everyone has is, are they going to trade that 2027 and 2029 first round picks?
Mo, I've been talking to quite a few executives over the last few days, and there seems to be an overwhelming thought process that everyone is kind of bunched up, from 5 to 8,
there's not a lot in the standings. There's a few games separating. Everyone's kind of bunched up, right? Boston is kind of separated themselves. Denver has separated themselves. Maybe Memphis, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, but everyone else is just bunched up. So now that means, Mo, if you do make a move and that move doesn't work, okay, that could, that may not look good. Yeah.
So I think go ahead.
Between the 3rd seed and the 10th seed in the West, only 3.5 games separate them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think because of that, most of the executives think there are not going to be a lot of moves. That's what most people are thinking. However, Mo, I mean, who knows? But I would think, Mo, when you're only 2 games out, you're a 2-game winning streak from being to the 3rd or 4th seed. Okay,
yeah,
you could be you could be the Lakers. They go on a 5-game winning streak. They're in the 4th place. You know what I mean?
Well, the Lakers are down in 13th. They're a little bit behind, but
Yeah, but I mean, but I think that it's just so much room. There, everyone's bunched up. So I think people are going to be, I think, be a little cautious. But I do think the top teams, I think your Celtics, I think the Milwaukee Bucks, I think those guys will be active. I really think those type of teams. I think Memphis may be active.
I heard a rumor that Memphis, given their surplus of draft picks that they've got and the salary of Danny Green, are in the market for one OG Anunoby in Toronto. And if they get OG to go along with Ja, Bane, Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., that's a defensive unit. Except for maybe Ja.
I think he would be good. It'd be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what Toronto does.
Yep.
It is going to be interesting to see what Phoenix does, because I think the Phoenix Suns will trade Jae Crowder.
Yes, because this brings it up nicely. Rui Hachimura was actually in talks of going to Phoenix. The deal was supposed to be Rui Hachimura goes to Phoenix, then Jae Crowder goes to Milwaukee, and Milwaukee sent draft compensation to the Washington Wizards. And that was before the Lakers entered the picture. But now the latest reports on the package that the Milwaukee Bucks are trying to send for Jae Crowder is Jordan Nwora, George Hill, Serge Ibaka, and a 2nd-round pick for Jae Crowder. Now, the Suns all season long were saying they want young players and they want the 1st-round picks for Jae Crowder, but they don't have much leverage. This is a guy that's not played for them all year. This is a guy that clearly is going to leave in free agency because they don't want to pay him. They don't really have the leverage. I think they're going to try and wait till the very end of the trade window if they can't get a deal done soon, because that's when they have a little bit of leverage. Because I think that the Milwaukee Bucks definitely do need to make an upgrade, because their rosters Giannis is as great as ever, and I think he can play even better when it comes to the playoffs. But you saw what happened when they added PJ Tucker to that squad, and then they went on their championship run. I believe that this Jae Crowder move will be something similar. So I think that's that. But it's just a question of if anyone else could get in with a better offer, if any of the other so-called contending teams could get in there and offer something a bit better than the package that the Bucks can to the Phoenix Suns, to perhaps steal Jae Crowder, who can really be a difference maker on a contending team with his defensive intensity and his ability to knock down, catch and shoot threes. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to keep talking about these trades as the trade deadline approaches. But one other piece of news that happened while we were away was the All-Stars were announced. Well, the starters for the All-Star teams. Did you see them, BJ?
Yes, I did.
So for the Western Conference, we have Stephen Curry, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Zion Williamson, and Nikola Jokic. And for the Eastern Conference, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, when you saw these names, what did you think? Were you happy? Was there anyone missing from that list that you think should have been an all-star star?
Listen, every year we can go through this, right? Look. Now, I think he's an all-star? Yes, Zion. But he's missed so many games now.
Yes, 20-something games he's missed.
Okay, now you got to ask yourself, okay, availability counts and it matters. I know the fans want to see who they want to see, but he's missed some games. Okay. In the East, you have Giannis. Okay, check. Kevin Durant, he's hurt right now, but check. They've made they've done a 180. Kyrie, okay. Well, what are you gonna say?
He's the fans' favorite,
right? You have Donovan Mitchell, right? And then who else you have? Who was it?
Jason
Tatum. Okay. Like, what are you gonna say? Like, Mo, what are you gonna say?
So
like
the name that everyone was wondering why is missing was Joel Embiid, who leads the NBA in scoring right now. He's averaging 33.6 points per game. The Philadelphia 76ers are second in the East. They've been on a hot streak, but he didn't make it to the thing. And the question was, the NBA in 2012 got rid of the center position from the All-Star ballot to make it just guards and front court players. Should they get rid of positions entirely? Because out of Giannis, Tatum, Kevin Durant, and Embiid, only 3 of the 4 can make it. But really and truly, all 4 should be starting in the All-Star game. And then 1 guard. Maybe Donovan Mitchell, maybe Kyrie Irving, maybe even Jaylen Brown.
Okay. The system isn't perfect. I don't live in a perfect world. So what do you want to do? He's an all-star. What do you want to say? We live in a league now where this is what it is. All right. What do you want to say? What do you want to say? So here's how I really think about it. And I'm a little upset about this. It's because we've devalued the center position.
Facts.
We've devalued it. And now when the playoffs start, we all say the same thing. The game changes in the playoffs. The game is going to slow down. And then we want all these bigs to come and play and play a brand of basketball that's totally different, in which we celebrate for the first 82 games. That's why I have compassion for these players, in particular these bigs, because these bigs know this. We've devalued them to where there's only 2 players in the entire NBA get post plays. One is named Embiid and the other is named Jokic. In the entire NBA. So in my eyes, he is a starter, because I've just kind of, look, it is what it is. Sell your positionless basketball, but when it gets time for to win, we want Rob Williams to show up, we want Al Horford to show up, we want Joel Embiid to show up, we want Jokic to show up.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you slightly, because I don't think it's just the playoffs. I don't think it's just the playoffs. The MVP race last year was between 2 centers. The MVP race last year was Embiid versus Jokic. So how is the center position not an all-star ballot when the 2 most valuable players last year and maybe this year are both centers? Either put that back on the ballot or get rid of positions altogether.
Brook Lopez is supposed to be in the All-Star game this year. Brook Lopez is supposed to be in the All-Star game this year. Okay? These bigs, because of the way it's marketed now, we're just, well, everybody wants to see the guards and, this guy has a crazy, dunk on the big guy. We want to see the little guys dunk on the big guys. But these Miles Turners and these guys, they deserve the credit, because now they are learning how to play in this small ball era. And I'm going to say this now before it happens. These Wembanyama's and these 7-foot guys, because my true dream. I want to see 5 7-footers. That's my dream. Because the best teams are always, they have the big players. Okay. The best defensive team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then you have the Memphis Grizzlies play 2 bigs. You have your Celtics play 2 bigs. You have the Milwaukee Bucks play 2 bigs. The New Orleans Pelicans play 2 bigs. All of these teams, and we don't say this, but we all know this. The bigs matter. Joel Embiid matters. Jokic, the best team out west, matters. And we need these big guys, but then we want to just, we just want to act like they don't matter. Well, Joel Embiid is without question a top 5 player in the NBA. I don't need now for him to be in an all-star game because we have taken away the center position. We all know what it is. We all know who Joel Embiid is. So Joel Embiid is a elite level player in today's game. And we know this. But
in case he's a top 5 player.
He's a top 5 player in the game. Screw that being an all-star starter. He's a top 5 player in the
MVP
NBA. Perhaps the MVP. Perhaps, without question, he's one of the top 2 or 3. Okay? He's the top 2 or 3. Him, Giannis, those guys right now, Jokic has been up there. If you ask me today who's in the top, I would say Luka Doncic, in no particular order. Giannis and Joel Embiid are, to me, and Jason Tatum. I'm sorry, Jason Tatum because of what he's done. I think he's been very, very consistent. But those guys are the players now that are in that conversation. So whether or not he's in an all-star starter and all that, come on. The system it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to get caught up in it.
Do you think, speaking of the system not being perfect and just what you mentioned about Zion earlier, there should be like a minimum quota for games played? Because Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson, they both missed over 20 games each. Who would you have in place of Zion Williamson? If there was a minimum quota, you have to have played 70% of your team's games.
Sabonis.
Sabonis.
Sabonis. I you know what? I am really, Mo, and you know me, I'm not a bandwagon type. I told you last year when that trade happened, I thought that was a win-win trade for both. I really do. Every now and then you'll see a trade that works for both. I think this was a good trade for Indiana. Halliburton may be coming off.
He definitely should be a reserve. He definitely should be a reserve. Okay. And he was third for the media voting. Media vote equates to 25%, player vote 25%, and fan vote 50%. But Halliburton got love from the media. But Sabonis for sure.
Sabonis to me, I always like to root for the underdog. Well, I'm rooting for the Sacramento Kings, okay? Mm-hmm. They've gone, 16, 17 years now without going in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And they are playing a terrific brand of basketball under Coach Brown. Coach Brown has really got this thing running. I mean, offensively, Mo, if you want to get a tutelage on how to play on the offensive end, just watch how the Sacramento Kings play. They play through Sabonis, and De'Aaron Fox has been great all year. And so
Keegan Murray's been fantastic as a rookie.
Yeah, if he doesn't play, I think Sabonis should be. I think without question, he's an all-star. I think De'Aaron Fox is an all-star this year. But that's just me. I'm rooting for Sabonis. If you ask me, who should step into that if Zion is not able to play?
I hear it. I definitely do hear it. And if you guys listening to the show want to be all-stars, then make sure you subscribe to the show and give us 5 stars on the podcast.
We're back, Mo. We're back. And you know what, Mo? I got all this. I don't know what to do with myself. But welcome back, Mo. Welcome back.
BJ. It just gets better and better, doesn't it? We're going to be back to regular scheduled programming so you guys don't miss a beat. Make sure that you subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts from. Share them with a friend. The show's just going to get better and better. We got a lot in store. We got a lot planned. So make sure you don't miss a single episode. Subscribe, stay locked in. And most importantly, get buckets.